Tired of feeling tired? Done with diet culture? Overwhelmed by conflicting nutrition and fitness messages? Then join us, your hosts of the Nutrition Revolution podcast, as we take a deep dive into all things women's fitness and nutrition. I'm Kimberly.
And I'm Tabitha. And together we are debunking diet culture myths and giving you the tools you need to finally see the results you're looking for. It's time to revolutionize your nutrition and training.
Welcome back to another episode. We are going to be talking about seed oils today. I feel like this is one of those topics that has been blasted through mainstream media and social media where everyone's like, I can't eat seed oils. They're going to destroy
totally vilified.
me. Yeah. Everybody has to keep them out of their diet and can't eat any of their favorite foods anymore because they have seed oils, or can't eat out or whatever because there are seed oils everywhere.
Yeah, I get so like palm to face to palm moments where it's like clients are like, I can't have seed oils. I'm so stressed out about seed oils. But then they start their day with a Starbucks grande vanilla latte and a muffin. And I'm like, girlfriend, the seed oils are not the problem.
Right. I think you're right. Like, first of all, I have had clients who are so afraid to eat anything, including like drinking water, because they literally stress out about the sourcing of the water or the sourcing of their food. And so they've become absolutely terrified to eat anything. Mm-hmm. And that's not healthy, right? So they're not sleeping at night because they can't eat and they're hungry and they're nervous about the foods that they're putting in. And part of being healthy and the part of like actually changing your diet and eating good, healthy food is to be healthy.
Yeah.
Right.
Orthorexia is real.
Yes.
The condition of
For
like
sure.
that over like above and beyond normal.
You're so healthy, you're not healthy.
That like you're like scared to eat anything that could be unhealthy, or you get so even if it's not like everything that you're not like worried about everything, it's like one specific thing or two or three things. Like if you're super stressed out about consuming seed oils or other things that like is all consuming, and it takes over and kind of keeps you like paralyzed from being able to just eat normally and relax around food. And I think seed oils, the social media hype about it and all the like vilification of it has gotten people hyper focused on something that like, yes, be aware of, but like more sourcing and distribution of the balance of different fat sources in your diet is going to be way more important than if you occasionally have a highly refined oil. Because I don't think it's possible in today's world, unless you are going to be like living off the grid and producing all of your own foods. You know, if that's not you, which is probably most of our listeners, like you're going to be exposed to seed oils, but not all of them are terrible. Right. And it comes down to processing and then how you also use them, right? You know, like temperature level of cooking and all that, but getting a little ahead of ourselves. So I think,
well, along that line real quick, because I think that this is kind of how the meat industry has gotten vilified also. It's the sourcing, right? So if you're eating a McDonald's cheeseburger every day,
or
it's not necessarily the beef that's the problem. Right. If you're eating McDonald's fries every day, it's not necessarily the seed oils that are the problem. Like it's the devil's in a dose, right? Mm-hmm. So it kind of depends on the sourcing. So
sourcing and then quantity. Yeah. How often you're taking it in.
So let's start with what is seed oil?
Yeah. So seed oils are the vegetable oils that are pressed from the embryo of the plant. And what is the embryo of the plant? It is the seed. The seed. So a baby plant. Yeah. Rather than the flesh of the plant. So like you take, if you're talking soybeans, like you take the actual soybean, that is not the seed oil. If you take the seed of the soybean plant and press the oil out of that, that is the soybean seed oil. So some examples like rapeseed, canola, soybean, sunflower, safflower, corn, cottonseed, grapeseed. Those are all like your typical seed oils. Nuts like peanuts and sesame are botanically seeds as well, but your olive, avocado, and coconut oils, those are considered fruit oils, but they are often like lumped in with seed oils in discussion of what are the healthiest types of oils, how, what should you be consuming more of, less of. So that's kind of what counts as a seed oil in a nutshell. Anything that you want to add to that?
Vegetable oil. There's a lot of misinformation about what vegetable oil actually is. So if you look up like what is vegetable oil, it's actually sometimes a blend of like soy oil and corn oil. It's a blend of
Canola.
All the way that someone explained to me is it's basically like the oils that have no home, they put them all together, and that's like your blend of vegetable oil.
And those are mostly seed oils.
Mostly made up of different types of seed oils.
A combination of seed oils. So I do find the history of seed oils kind of interesting. So if we go back to the 1800s, the first use of seed oils was like in the 1860s when U.S. cotton mills were refining leftover cotton seed to use for lamp oil. And then later for cooking fat. And this was like the first larger scale, like industrial level seed oil production. It was 1911. We got good old Crisco.
Heyo.
So yeah, Crisco, 14 years ago. That was popularized solid seed oil products, but it also contained the dreaded trans fats, which the one nice thing is that in 2018, the FDA banned trans fats from all U.S. food sources. So that is now actually non-existent in our mainstream, any food products that you purchase, which is a good thing. Trans fats have to do with how many like hydrogen bonds there are with your fat. So it would be fully saturated with hydrogen bonds, which is the type of fat that is going to increase the risk of like cardiovascular disease, high LDL cholesterol, which is the cholesterol that you don't want, and all of the more like negative side effects from the trans fats. So one positive of the American food source is that we don't have to worry about trans fats anymore.
One less thing you have to look for on a label.
One thing, yeah, exactly. You won't see that anymore. Like I said, that was banned in 2018, and I think we had until 2022 for manufacturers to have it completely removed. You might need to fact check me on that date, but I think that was the date, because once they ban it, like the same thing with the food dyes right now, it's been banned, but it takes a while to get it out. Manufacturers a few years to make the adjustments and changes that
someone
they
just
need.
asked me that about the food dyes. They're like, but it's still in our grocery shelves, and I was like, well, they can't just be like, it's gone, completely gone. It takes time for them to give the companies time to find new things and create
ways
different
to make it work, especially the large scale manufacturing. In the 1940s, nutritional scientists and nutritional epidemiologists made the link between high intake of saturated fat to heart disease. So this is when the food industry really started shifting from using a lot of like lard and butter in cooking and frying to liquid vegetable oils, because they are, depending on the vegetable oil, higher in unsaturated fat versus saturated fat, and specifically even omega-3s. So all of a sudden we see in like the mid 1900s, seed oil demands around the world really skyrocket from this research that came out in nutritional science that saturated fat intake and higher cholesterol levels and higher risks of cardiovascular disease and major cardiovascular events were linked to that increased of like high amounts of saturated fat. Not vilifying saturated fat at all, because again, the devil's in the dose. Like, you do need saturated fat, for sure. But when I think the pendulum,
swung too far.
Exactly. What I remember from my nutritional epidemiology course was that it was in the American diet, there was so much animal fat being consumed that it was no longer like a moderate amount. And that's why we started seeing all of these issues with like adverse blood lipid profiles, or negative blood lipid profiles. And then finally in 2015, that was when the FDA ruled that trans fats were not GRAS, G-R-A-S, generally regarded as safe. And then in 2018, they were banned. So modern supermarket seed oils are literally trans fat free now. So there is a little bit of a timeline history of seed oils and how they became mainstream in the American diet.
Now, how did they get vilified?
Yes. How did they get vilified? Any thoughts on that, Kimberly?
I mean, conspiracy theory, Kimberly, or nutritionist, Kimberly? So the the vilification, from what I have seen and studied, is the processing of these oils, right? So the sourcing, going back to that sourcing. So there's hexane, which is the heat. It's that like petroleum extraction, right? So there's this stuff that they use to get the seed or to get the oil out of the seed. And so people started kind of researching this and seeing that hexane extraction was being used, and that some of that stuff could be left in the oil. So you're consuming this
chemical.
Yeah, it's a chemical that can be used for that. And so that's in our seed oils. So there's that one part of that heat extraction that they're like, that's not safe for you to eat because it can cause a lot of inflammation, versus like a olive oil or avocado oil or coconut oil that's more of a cold pressed option that doesn't use any sort of chemicals to get it out.
Yeah, good point. So I was going to add on to that the part of the processing is like cold pressed versus traditional extraction that involves heat. So it's called RBD, commercial RBD, which that stands for refined, bleached, and deodorized. So refined, bleached, deodorized seed oils, which at one point were was like the primary method of extracting the seed oil. It removes the odors. So sometimes fat can have that like almost rancid, sour smell. Yep. So it removed odors, but it also removed the free fatty acids, which are the good fatty acids that you need and want. So it did two things. It made the oils not smell. And it extended their shelf life, gave them a longer shelf life, but we ended up with fewer of the phenolic antioxidants that we get, which are like anti-inflammatory and the omega-3s and like the good health benefits of seed oils, because they were not cold pressed. So to the whole topic of like, what should we actually look for when it comes to the oils that we're using? I always say like cold pressed when
First,
you can.
cold pressed is the best option.
Yeah, cold pressed, and then organic if you can, making sure that it's not been, well, the cold press will make sure that the commercial RBD process hasn't been used.
Yeah.
That's what I personally shop for.
Yeah, so when I'm looking at seed oils, I look for cold pressed, or if it's like an organic sunflower oil or something like that, then it's okay. But the heat processing removes a lot of the key essential nutrients. So when we're looking at seed oils, and honestly, we've talked about this a lot, like when you are looking for foods to eat and consume, your job is to look for the nutrients. What can you eat that provides the best nutrients? So these seed oils don't have nutrients in them. They've been, extracted of all of their key nutrients.
Well, it depends on how they've been processed.
Depending on the processing.
Yeah, the traditional commercial processing that I just
like that highly heated
removed
processed.
A lot of the healthy fats, also some of the plant sterols and like the vitamin E, that they are traditionally when seed oils were extracted, ancient practices where it was pretty much all cold extraction and processing. They were really nutrient dense as well. So you still can find nutrient dense seed oils, but that comes down to you want the cold pressed.
Yep, you can find cold pressed sunflower oils. You can find cold pressed
and safflower too, canola even. Right. In general, I try to stay away from the soy oil, and peanut oil.
Personally,
you don't do soy at all, I mean, I like edamame. I'll eat that.
That idea sounds nice.
But in general, like in my home, I use extra virgin olive oil cold pressed, avocado oil cold pressed. I don't do the coconut oil as much because I just don't like the flavor.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Even you don't like your tropical notes in your...
I love coconut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Just don't
like, give me some coconut ice cream, but I don't want it my eggs are on my toast.
Yeah.
And then I'll use like high quality butter or even ghee.
I actually had someone reach out and say, why do you and Tabitha hate butter? And I was
don't hate butter.
We don't hate butter. What are you talking about?
When have we given that?
She was like, well, you didn't specifically say it, but you always talk about cooking in olive oil or coconut oil. And I was like, oh no, I do use butter.
Yeah,
like if I'm doing some eggs, I'll do some butter or some ghee. My husband puts ghee in his coffee all the time. So I was laughing. I was like, I'm going to make sure we talk about how much I love butter.
Yeah.
Because I use a nice grass-fed butter. I love butter.
Yeah.
So for me, I do actually avoid seed oils. Just personally for autoimmune help. But that part of it is the reduction of seed oils kind of just came naturally because I cut out a lot of processed foods. So I don't really eat bagged processed things. And that kind of reduced a lot of those seed oils. So at home, I'm the same. I use avocado, coconut, olive oil, and then butter and ghee. So we don't, when I'm looking at like, if my kids want to grab a snack, if I see vegetable oil or canola oil, usually I'm like, no, because that's just a highly processed snack.
Yeah.
A lot of your chips and things have those canola oils and vegetable oils, where you can go and grab like a Siete chips have avocado oil, or I think they have some coconut oil ones. And then, so I just look at the ingredients on the back and try to make choices that it's less ingredients, not as highly processed. And so it kind of naturally takes out a lot of those seed oils.
Yeah.
Just for inflammatory reasons. For me personally, I have to be really careful with autoimmune disease not to put anything in my body that's highly inflammatory.
Yeah. Does the cold pressing though, the sourcing of it, make a difference for you? Because it does make a difference actually in the quality, like the nutrient content of the oil. So like when something is cold pressed, it retains the vitamins that are inherent. It retains the healthy fats. The balance of omega-3 to omega-6 is there. So it actually becomes anti-inflammatory. And most often, if something is cold pressed, the manufacturers have probably also sourced like an organic as well. So then you don't have like the pesticide, residual pesticide exposure.
Yeah. So if it says organic, well, we'll eat that kind of stuff. So, if the oil is like an organic sunflower or safflower oil, it's fine.
Even if it says organic, for me, it has to also say cold pressed. But I swap out, like in baking, I swap out my extra virgin olive oil for canola or vegetable oil all the time. And you literally cannot taste the difference.
You add vegetable oil instead?
No, I swap out.
Oh, you swap out. So if the recipe says vegetable oil.
So like sometimes I'll take advantage of like King Arthur has this gluten-free brownie mix.
Yeah.
That's like a quick, easy treat that my daughter loves, and it calls for oil, and we just use extra virgin olive oil.
We use olive oil or butter or coconut oil.
And it doesn't change the taste profile. So so really, I don't even know. I think I do have some cold pressed canola oil down in my pantry. But other than that, it's avocado oil, extra virgin olive oil. I have some ghee, butter, but I don't have any like the Crisco vegetable oils like years ago.
There's so many alternatives now.
I took that out. There are so many alternatives that are affordable and a lot of different like brand options.
Yeah, when I make my buttercream icing, I think it's Chosen Foods avocado. It's like a Crisco consistency, but it's like a thick avocado or like.
So when I make buttercream, I just use good old fashioned butter.
Yeah, I use butter too.
Yeah.
So I really I don't have any other oils in my house except for olive oil and coconut oil.
Yeah. And it
avocado
hasn't
oil.
really been that difficult of a swap. Like
no.
it
I think that people always think it's going to taste different, but it really doesn't have an issue.
I haven't found it to like negatively affect, in any cookies, they don't really call for oils. It's usually butter. So I would say it's more like cakes and brownies. And like I said, the extra virgin olive oil, even avocado oil I've used does not change. And if you're a coconut lover, like you don't like a chocolate brownie mix with coconut oil, that might actually be really good.
Yeah.
I could probably do that.
You could do that.
I could do a sweet thing with the coconut oil.
I think also we should talk about like, some of these oils are in like your salad dressings. Clean those salad dressings up because the oils with all the sugar and all the chemicals, like salad dressing is terrible.
Can be really unhealthy and very high calorie.
Yeah, high calorie. And there's so many, like I look at my dressings, or if I'm going to have like a salad, sometimes I'll just put like guac and salsa on it, something fresh, and mix it all with that and don't even use it. Or I'll use olive oil and balsamic, or I use Primal Kitchen.
I like Primal Kitchen.
They use a lot of avocado oils.
There's another brand I'm trying to think.
Seed oil
Maybe
free.
it is just Primal Kitchen.
Primal Kitchen, Sir Kensington's, Chosen Foods.
Chosen Foods, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah,
Chosen really good ones.
Foods are good. Honestly, anymore, I make my own like vinaigrette.
It's so easy to do that too.
I mean, it really like truly, like people are like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for that. Like, no, yes, you do. It takes 3 minutes. Like literally you just have extra virgin olive oil, cold pressed in your pantry, lemon juice, salt, pepper, maybe some balsamic vinegar, and you can get all kinds of different flavors of balsamic vinegar. I've had, I had a girlfriend give me a beautiful like fruit and veggie, like flavor infused set of olive oils and balsamic vinegars. Like there was like a blueberry balsamic vinegar and a mandarin, and like it was
awesome.
so good. So a drizzle of the balsamic. I love a white balsamic vinegar, drizzle of extra virgin olive oil or avocado oil, salt, pepper, squeeze like lemon juice or lime juice. Like it
sounds really
actually is very fresh, and the flavors are very robust. I like the texture of it. It's less, sometimes like salad dressings can be so like gloopy,
and they overtake.
Gloppy, whatever. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, kind of like swallowing
exactly
snot.
like that.
I mean, I said it, but, and I just found that like, this is a super easy thing. You know, I'll even, buy like 2 lemons and like squeeze the juice out and put them in a little glass container, pop up in my fridge, and like that'll hold in there for like 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? And then you can just like drizzle some of that on there. It's like literally no extra
so
work,
easy.
and it's cheaper. And it's so much healthier.
Yeah, you're controlling the ingredients.
And the flavor profile is way more fresh and vibrant and robust than those, you know, salad dressings.
Hidden Valley Ranch.
Oh gosh,
I'm gonna say it.
So we were in North Carolina for baseball this weekend. So obviously it meant all of our meals were eaten out because it was a 3-day tournament. So we had gone to Chick-fil-A on Saturday for lunch. And I really like either their Cobb salad or their market one. And normally they have a balsamic one dressing that is like on the sliding scale. It's probably the best choice there. But I grabbed the honey mustard, the fat-free honey mustard, because I actually wanted to see, like, when something's fat-free, you can rest assured that it's loaded with sugar.
Yeah.
So I just asked for it. I asked for my normal balsamic vinaigrette they have, and then the honey mustard, to see that honey mustard packet of dressing had 22 grams of added sugar. I was mind blown. I'm like, this is almost like a soda on your salad. A soda is what, like 30 grams of added sugar? Like, and it just tasted so...
What was in it? Corn syrup?
Corn... you know what? I actually didn't read the ingredients list because I knew I wasn't even going to use it.
Yeah.
I just was looking at like the macro breakdown. I was like, wow, that is crazy. Yeah. So what you think, it's low calories. It was like 90 calories for the packet, but it's so much sugar. It's crazy the amount of sugar in... So any perceived health benefit of it being lower calorie, like you're also just flooding your system with, now that salad is like almost like a dessert when you add that dressing on there. So be mindful of that when eating out. Ask for either the dressing on the side, so you can control exactly how much, or ask them even for just like straight up olive oil, balsamic vinegar, add the salt and pepper if you can. A lot of restaurants, you know, can accommodate that. You know, also though, is it better to eat the salad with a little bit of icky dressing versus like not having those veggies? I'm in the camp of like, it's better to get in that fiber and those vegetables. And if you can, like, you shouldn't be eating out all the time anyways.
Right.
So if that happens like 3 times a month, it's not the end of the world.
And I'm over here like, just get the grilled nuggets.
Or get the grilled nuggets, and you know, but I think getting all of those vegetables in a way that like
finding a way,
most people,
especially for kids. So I was going to say, like, my kids will do a salad as long as it has dressing with it. Now when we're at home, it's Primal Kitchen dressing. But if we're out, like, they like the avocado lime dressing from Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, I like that
also
one too.
Terrible for you, but it makes them eat their salad. So,
but you also don't even need a whole pack either.
No, that one I just put it like on the side, and they kind of dip it in.
Yeah, dip it in. It controls it, moderates it. It's not the end of the world.
This turned into a salad dressing episode. If you are doing salad dressing, measure it. Don't just squeeze a whole bunch on there. You've got to measure it, because like ranch dressing, the amount of calories in ranch dressing is insane. So you definitely should measure it out.
If you have a weight loss goal or like are worried about your caloric intake, definitely want to look at that. Salad dressing episode.
Salad dressing.
So I will say that science says about like heart health and inflammation that when we do decrease the load of animal fat, saturated fat in the diet, and replace it with healthier, like plant-based fats, that you do reduce your total cholesterol, and your LDL and your HDL will increase, especially if you are also eating a lot of those fiber-rich foods. So having the salads, which is why I say like have that salad over not having that salad, even if it means that it's going to be an unhealthier dressing that you have for that, because you're out and can't control that. And also human trials show that increasing the linoleic acid, which is what is going to be in your seed oils, does not increase circulating inflammatory cytokines. And that is the primary marker of inflammation in the body versus the increased inflammation of super saturated fats, which was like the trans fats, which thankfully now we don't have to worry about, but too much of your saturated fats. So you want to find that good balance because your saturated fats are also higher in your omega-6.
I was to say, if we talk about the
inflammation
and omega-6 and omega-3 balance,
we want a 1-to-1, but the standard American diet currently is a 6-to-1. Is 6-to-1. So that's why you see a lot of increased inflammation, even if someone's like, oh, I don't eat tons of high fat animal foods, which again, I'm not vilifying animal fat. Like you need it.
You need a balance.
You need some. Exactly. But it's, again, the devil's in the dose. So incorporating more of healthier plant-based oils and fats, looking at the sourcing, and then balancing that out with your source of your animal fats, so that you have a healthier, more robust fat profile in your diet, will decrease inflammation and improve that omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which should look more like a 1-to-1. So you want to get that omega-6 to omega-1 more balanced.
Yeah. So I'd say don't panic about all the oils and seed oils because you see some influencer saying like, you can't have any of this. I would first start by looking at your own pantry and kind of going through and seeing, you're going to realize all of those oils are in your highly processed foods. And so if you are trying to get healthier, trying to maintain your weight or lose weight, start with ditching those highly processed foods. And then when you do reshop for things, start looking for foods that are going to provide nutrients, and those seed oils that are highly processed can create less healthy and lack nutrients. So I would start with adding in olive oils and avocado oils, a good grass-fed butter, ghee, what else? Coconut oils, or any of the cold-pressed seed oils. And then, what do you think?
Flax and linseed is actually really high in omega-3, but you can never heat it. So if you are going to use cold, like ground flaxseed or the oil from flax and linseed, it has to be on cold dishes. So like drizzled on a salad, smoothies, adding the ground flaxseed, but you just don't ever want to heat it. That's one thing too that we should talk about is like the buying and cooking guide. So some seed oils are better at different temperatures. Thank you. different temperatures. In general, your seed oils, you're going to want them to not reach the smoking point. So if you're doing some eggs, even if it's avocado oil, which we know is a fruit oil, not avocado, I'm sorry,
olive oil.
Olive oil. Thank you. Extra virgin olive oil, which is a fruit oil, not a seed oil. If it starts smoking, you're actually breaking down the fats, and it degrades the fats, and so you want to then either turn down the heat, not let it get to that smoking point, or switch to a more heat stable, which is like your avocado, or even, and then like your butter. I think that something else to consider is replacing some of, like, if you use Crisco, if you use a lot of like lards, I'm not saying butter, I'm saying lard and Crisco, try to replace some of that in your diet with a healthier oil or a healthier fat. Another thing to consider too, and it's like, what is best avoided? So your shortenings, your stick, Crisco, your margarine. Yes, margarine. Which trans fat's now illegal. So if you have any cans that are older sitting around, ditch those because they could still hold those trans fats. So if that tub of Crisco in your pantry from 2000 is sitting there, just throw it away. Do yourself a solid. The other thing to consider is like deep fryer oil. And that's one of the downsides to eating out so much is how often are they changing that oil? Because every time it's heated up, it's degraded and broken down a little bit more. So if your oil starts smelling like fishy or acrid, you want to ditch it. unfortunately, you can't really go into a restaurant and be like, I'm sorry,
is this a fresh oil day?
Yeah,
or
like, what, so
yeah.
you gotta, that's why we say, like, don't eat out as often.
Right. And that's where the like oils in the restaurants, like not being able to control the ingredients, that's where that kind of comes in of like, you have no idea what those fryers are looking like. And sometimes they don't even change them. They just add to them.
Yes.
And so you're getting this like hodgepodge of different oils from different sources, and you literally can't control it or know where it's coming from.
Yeah. You get a buildup of aldehydes in those reused oils that are heated to those very high temperatures. And that actually is directly linked to increased cancer risk. So
and
like
high inflammatory responses.
Minimize how often you eat foods from a commercial fryer.
Yeah.
So
and it doesn't matter if it's peanut oil or vegetable oil. It's the heating process.
Yeah. Like if we're talking about Chick-fil-A, a good option then is like the market salad or grilled nuggets. Yeah. They're not going to be fried. Maybe find, like my kids like doing grilled nuggets and fruit cup.
That's our go-to.
Do you know?
To do it.
So making choices like that, like if it is a McDonald's run for whatever reason, again, like really limit that, but maybe get something that, skip the fries.
Yeah.
If you're going to get the burger, just have that, or pick another side that's not the fryer. Because I think some of the like the Burger Kings, the Wendy's, the McDonald's, those are like big culprits of how often are they changing that oil? Are they changing it even at all? Or are they just like adding to it?
A lot of the research and investigating things on those fast food companies is they're just adding to it instead of taking away. So at the bottom, there's this, it's
the gunky buildup,
smells
the
like
aldehyde.
fish. Yeah.
Yeah. Not good. Last thought too on like best avoided is oils that are very old and light exposed. So polyunsaturated fatty acids, they oxidize, so break down during long storage. And so you want to buy smaller bottles so you go through them quicker, and then keep them in a cool, dark place. So like my pantry has a door and there's no natural light in my pantry. So if you go in there, it's like really dark unless you turn the light on. So that's where I store all of my oils.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And then I buy smaller bottles. So like I might be having to buy a bottle every other grocery trip or at least monthly, but at least I know that it's not going past its shelf stable date.
My husband did a class in college for business, and one of the people that he had to work under was a guy who sold olive oils. And the guy always told him, first cold pressed, small bottles, dark bottles, glass bottles. That's what you want.
Yeah, glass bottles for sure. I switched to glass bottles a while ago. One thing when you're reading your labels when it comes to your oils, high oleic or expeller pressed means fewer fragile polyunsaturated fatty acids and milder processing in general. So if it says interesterified or fully hydrogenated, that indicates that there's been factory modification for shelf life, which is the high heat, that RBD that I talked about, processed. The refined bleaching, the deodorization. It won't have the trans fat anymore, but that's going to be more like the inflammatory, not the best for you. So I would say take home message, if we're going to wrap it up in a nutshell, seed oils are 150-year plus technology. It helped reduce some of the saturated fat that was like, again, that pendulum that swung too far one way. It helped replace the animal fat and trans fat. They are one of the quickest, cheapest ways to lower your saturated fat intake, and they do add essential fatty acids, but they need to be used fresh. The sourcing, so expeller pressed, cold pressed, and at reasonable cooking temperatures, keep it from smoking. And I am guilty of this where I'll do my olive oil in the pan for some eggs quickly. And then I'll get distracted. The next thing I know, I'm the pan is smoking. I'm crap. And then I'll actually just dump that oil, wipe it out. And so sometimes I try to use the avocado oil because that is higher heat stable.
Use the avocado.
But I keep my extra virgin olive oil in a glass decanter right next to my stove. So it's just easy to drizzle. So I just have to pay attention or keep the heat lower. Yeah. I'll keep it at 3.5 or 4 on my stove goes up to 10, and then that way it won't reach that smoking point. And then I would say that they are more friend than foe if you can kind of follow that checklist.
Yeah.
So hopefully this information was helpful. Till next time. Thanks for spending your time with us. If you found this podcast helpful, we would love for you to share it with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform. If you have nutrition or fitness questions you want answered on future episodes, we would love to hear from you. You can submit these questions to our email, thenutritionrevolutionpodcast@gmail.com, and follow us on Instagram at The Nutrition Revolution Podcast.